Now, a suspended Broward sheriff's deputy has been charged with a shooting. He was charged with shooting a man, and now he wants to have the case against him dropped, citing Florida's controversial Stand Your Ground law. The question is, was the man he's accused of shooting holding a weapon when he was shot? CBS 4's Joan Murray is live in Fort Lauderdale with more on today's hearing. Joan?
Good evening, Ruta Bay. Well, this suspended deputy has everything at stake, his freedom, also his job. So he is fighting very hard to convince a judge that Stand Your Ground is valid. But it may come down to who the judge believes, because while he says the man he shot had a weapon, that man says he was unarmed.
Kevin Patrick McClarnon.
Once an honored Broward Sheriff's Office training deputy, Kevin McClarnon has been trying to clear his name for over 2 years.
I'm homeless.
This man, Michael Hinch, and McClarnon's life collided at this Hollywood home in January 2014. That's when investigators say McClarnon, who was off duty in uniform preparing for an off-duty detail, shot Hinch. Investigators say both had a relationship with the woman at the home and that both had been drinking.
I asked him, he turned around when he was pointing it at my groin. I said, "That's a Glock. Is that the 9mm or the 40? And he said the 9, and he pulled the trigger and shot me.
But McClarnon claims it was self-defense, that Hinch threatened him with a knife. He's trying to get his aggravated battery case thrown out under Florida's Stand Your Ground law, which allows use of force against a perceived threat.
And it's your testimony that you pointed the gun twice at Mr. Hinch before shooting.
That's correct.
But an investigator at the scene testified at the hearing McClarnon never mentioned a knife and never volunteered that the shooting had happened.
When the victim, who was sitting in his own blood, pointed out that the deputy had shot him, I was in disbelief that the deputy had not mentioned anything about being involved in the shooting before we walked into the suspect's house of what apparently later on is an aggravated assault of a law enforcement officer.
That deputy remains suspended without pay. And if he doesn't win here, if this case goes forward and he is tried, the prosecutor tells me that if he is convicted, he's facing a mandatory 25 years in prison. In Fort Lauderdale, Joan Murray, CBS 4 News.